Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamie. I read a ton of books, and this is a haul video. So it's going to be a bit longish, a bit more like a list of books. I don't expect you guys to memorize all the books I got. But if you see a book that I wave in front of the screen and talk briefly about that you also have and want to read, buddy reads are fun. Yes. And I have a few books that I got from this season's bag of books sale at the bookstore I work at that I know for sure that at least one person also has it. So buddy reads are likely with some of them. But yeah, I got a lot of books. I actually only spent $10, but my sister bought me another $10 worth of books. And all the books I'm going to show you are within that $20 worth of books. So I think I did pretty good. So the way this video is going to go is kind of like all the other haul videos I've ever done so far. I'm going to bring over a stack of books and talk my way through them, why I picked them, anything that stuck out for me about them, that kind of thing, till we get to the end of the books. And then the books that are in this haul video will also count for that cute little challenge that I gave myself where I get coins for finishing the books that I got during these giant book hauls, to encourage me to actually read the books that I've hauled. So yeah, that'll be fun. And I remembered only after I did my wrap-ups for last month that I didn't actually do that. So I need to put the coins in for the books that I finished last month that I didn't do. So I will probably make that adjustment in the next wrap-up video, which is a separate video from this and will probably happen tomorrow. Today for me is a Thursday night. And so tomorrow I will be at the end of the week, heading into the weekend, and it seems like a good time to do a wrap-up since I didn't finish it yet. So it'll be the 11th. And I believe that the current leg of Fablin Readathon ends on the 11th. So it's a good time to do a wrap-up. And I still need to log books for Fablin. So as of right now, I'm not ready for a wrap-up yet. Yeah. So let me bring over a stack of books and we'll talk some books. And you guys can admire my new pretties. Okay, I got some books. I haven't really sorted them particularly. Some of them are stacked together, but most of them are just however they were when they came out of the sack. So they'll be a bit random, and I will try not to be too repetitive in my comments about them. Some of them I don't know much about. Seasonal Work by Laura Lippman was just one that looked appealing. It's a short story collection. I like short stories. Beyond that, I don't really know much about it. Let's stick that. Another short story collection is actually an anthology of sorts. Flannery O'Connor Award selected stories. So a bunch of different short stories by different people that won the Flannery O'Connor Award. And this is a particular year? It doesn't announce itself to be a particular year anywhere on the cover. So if it is, I will find out when I read it. But probably a good way to introduce oneself to new authors. And I I don't actually recognize a lot of these, actually. Yeah. Lots of new authors for me. Should be fun. This one's a novel, Misdemeanor Man by Dylan Schaefer. Just a murder mystery or crime book of some sort. Supposed to be suspenseful. I like suspenseful. And there is a death, so does a murder mystery. So what I was trying to figure out, is it just misdemeanors? Are we dealing with something other than murder? But no, there is a murder. I Am Forbidden by Anouk Markovits. Looked interesting. Looks literary. We'll find out. Yeah, don't know much about it. Might be literary fiction that gets talked about somewhere. I don't know. The name of the author sounds familiar to me, but that may just be because I shelve books a lot at the bookstore too. I got some poetry because one of my siblings is a poet. So they're kind of a Christmas present, although if I need short books for something, I might read them, but I don't like poetry that much. So we'll see. I got Fingerprints by Marc Chartier with a fingerprint on it. I have Pansy by Andrea Gibson. I like the title of this next one, Insectum Gravitas by Catherine Strisick. With a bug on the cover. This one is really thin, like here. But I like that title. It's too bad it's poetry. Anyway, Everybody's Jonesing for Something by Indigo Moore. Which is an interesting title to have a china cup on the cover. I'm curious, but it is poetry. Maybe I'm not that curious. We'll see. I got some nonfiction, Earthquake Storms, The Fascinating History and Volatile Future of the San Andreas Fault by John Dvorak. Should be fun. The Children's War, a novel by Monique Charlesworth. And Twain's End, a novel by Lynn Cullen, author of the national bestseller Mrs. Poe. That's promising. And I do like this cover. It's a nice design. Manteca, an anthology of Afro-Latina poets. Yeah. Looks good. It's also not thin. There's a lot of poems in this one. I may or may not read it before it goes to my sibling. I got some Eudora Welty, The Golden Apples, and The Wide Net and Other Stories. And The Attenbury Emeralds, a murder mystery by Jill Patton Walsh, based on the characters of Dorothy L. Sayers. And there's a couple more that'll be in the next stack by this author from this series, because I've read all of Dorothy Sayers' books in the what is the name of that sleuth now? Peter Wimsey. Lord Peter Wimsey. I read all of those books. They were great. I enjoyed them. But I don't need to read them over and over again. So I was intrigued that there is an author writing more books with those characters. So we'll see if it's as good as Dorothy Sayers was. So let me put these books somewhere where they're not falling off my lap, and I will grab the next stack. All right, next stack. Let's see if I can do this without them falling off. More poetry is in this stack, and a few other things. This one's actually probably a novella. It looks very slim, but it's a novel, not poetry. Something about a stalker. Yeah, maybe a stalker. Maybe just a fan. I don't know. We'll find out. The Trick of It by Michael Frayn. I got some similar genre to Tony Hillerman murder mysteries. They're all set in different Native American cultures, and they're all murder mystery series. There were random other authors that I'd noticed that were doing that same sort of thing, so I grabbed a few. So I have several books by Gene Hager. The Grandfather of Medicine is one. And this is a different format from most paperbacks we handle. So I kind of like the shape of these. I might watch for more of them. They're more square instead of your typical. There we go. I got a couple David Gutcherson books because I do have an arc of his new one. So he's the guy that did Snow Falling on Cedars, which I have not read yet. It never really called to me. But partly it came out in a year that I wasn't reading that kind of stuff. So I will probably read it eventually. This one is Ed King by David Gutcherson. A dude behaving badly, as far as I can tell so far without reading it. The Country Ahead of Us, The Country Behind, Stories by David Gutcherson. It's a short story collection. Here's some of the poetry. For colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough, by Dozaki Shang. A choreo poem by Ntozaki Shang. So I don't know what a choreo poem is supposed to be, but that looked interesting. This one I was curious about that term, like what she's doing with that. Yeah. And it looks like she is out of California. And this one is originally published in 1975. So this would be a classic in poetry now. Yeah, fun. I love the cover on this one. Poetry or not, this is just pretty. This is The Hatch by Joe Fletcher. But check out this cover. Isn't that gorgeous? Woo! So beautiful cover art. We'll see if I love the book. But, yeah, this is poetry. It's supposed to be dark, according to the back of the book. Yeah. Um, Letters from Long Hazard Lane, Poems and Prose by Salvatore Salerno. Very different aesthetic. I have a feeling that my sibling might like this one more than the Hatch. Yeah, we have different tastes. Hard Night by Christian Wyman. Another one that my sibling might prefer. We'll find out. Watching for Signs by Joan Schultz. I like this cover too. It's cool. And this one does the wraparound thing where the back is also part of the same aesthetic. So as objects go, this is a nice object. Uncorseted, Poems by Kyle Laws. And this is another one that the design wraps all the way around, back and front. So, very nice. This one has a nice cover feel too. I actually have heard of N. Scott Momaday before. This one is The Gourd Dancer. And the back of the book has Mr. Momaday. I love the cover of this one. And this one was a National Book Award finalist. So, yeah, I will probably read this one just because I have it now. Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude by Ross Gay. And it's just cheerful. It does the blurbs on the back, though, so it's not as pretty as a book object. And it does all these, bragging about being nominated for things. And it did win the National Book Critics Circle Award for poetry. So I guess you can brag about that. And it also won the Kingsley Tuft Poetry Award for 2016. I'm guessing probably 2016 for the other awards too, but I don't know. I will find out later. Then we get back into things that I actually read on a regular basis. Make Me a City by Jonathan Carr. I love the cover on this one. Just the colors are nice. It's more of a teal rather than a light blue. But in this lighting with this camera, it's pretty. I don't know if the book is any good, but I had to have it to see if it was any good because the cover is pretty. Here's another one of those continuations of Dorothy Sayers, The Late Scholar. So I may be reading these in November. I'm going to try to keep to more of a theme in November, but some of these I just really want to know if they're any good. Ann Beattie, A Wonderful Stroke of Luck. I don't remember which booktuber was talking about Ann Beattie, but a booktuber that reads a lot more European fiction was talking about this author. So I recognized the author name and stuck it in my sack. We'll find out if it's any good. Here's another one by Jill Patton Walsh, A Presumption of Death. And the fourth book that I got from that same series, The Bad Quarto. Although I think this one may be a different series. This one says an Imogen Quay mystery. So this may be her own sleuth rather than continuing Sayers. So I don't know. We'll find out. And then I have The Raggedy Edge by Michael S. Turnland. It's about a crumbling small-town community that is spiraling into anarchy. Exciting. A World Gone Savage. And then we have Turn of the Century by Kurt Anderson, which I was curious about because of the way they did the text for the title typesetting. It's turned every which way, and the spine as well. It's not all going the right direction. So I was curious. I don't know if it has anything to do with the quality of the book, but it looked cool. So we'll find out if it's a good book. I'm going to put this stack away and grab some more. I'll be right back. All right. More books. All right. So again, most of these are going to be fiction, like prose fiction, but there's a little bit more poetry in this stack. And mostly the rest of this is literary fiction. I do have a type, I have more than one type, I think is a fair way to put it. Anyway, Hamlet Unwritten by Owen Fitzstephen. This is a rather short novel. It looks like it got coffee stained on the back, but it didn't go through to any of the pages, so it's fine. I'm guessing Dashiell Hammett, so maybe modern noir. We'll find out. The Gunny Sack, Africa's Answer to Midnight's Children by M.G. Vasanji. I wouldn't have picked it out by its cover, but I've read Midnight's Children, so now I'm curious. Salim Juma, a Tanzanian Asian and great-grandson of an African slave, is bequeathed a gunny sack by his mystical grand aunt. It is an ancient sack, the drab, dusty Scheherazade of the Indian and African settlements, a sack full of mementos that she would hold out to his mesmerized eyes when he was a boy. Nicknamed Sheru, the gunny unravels a gallery of characters whose unwritten stories reflect the Asian experience in East Africa over 4 generations. That sounds interesting. I'm not sure if the person writing the back of the book is maybe getting a little bit overly literary themselves, because some of that, I'm not sure that their phrasing means what they think it means. Anyway, I'll find out when I read the book if it seems appropriate. There are people that, when they're writing things like that, they're trying to write as if they are the novelist. Like, that felt a little overdone. Just saying. Anyway, but it does look like an interesting book. The Kurdish Bike, a novel by Alessa Lightbourne. This one has some little things on it. It does look like it was recognized by Independent Publishers Book Awards. So that's nice. Yeah. Gold Medal Best Regional Fiction Independent Publishers Book Award 2017. Very nice. Commentary on a third world country torn apart by war. Fans of Kite Runner will adore this book's evocative writing. Yeah, that sounds good. Some Instructions on Writing in Life by Anne Lamott. Bird by Bird is the name of this one. I've heard of this one before too. So, yeah. This one would be nonfiction. Yes. About writing. The Red Notebook by Antoine Laurent. I think I read one of these last year. A book by this guy. For Dublin Literary Award, maybe? Antoine Laurent seems awfully familiar as an author. And I think that's why. So, anyway, it's not very thick. If it's the same author, that one was fun. But we'll find out. It certainly looks inviting, and it looks like the sort of book that would be the same sort of palette cleanser that you'd get from, P.G. Wodehouse, or, that I would get from a nice, cozy murder mystery with just a couple bodies. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, anyway. The Hollow-Eyed Angel by John William van de Wetering. This is one that I need to see somebody else pronounce it. I'm betting Leandra would know how to say this name. Just saying, Anyway. He's doing what Simenon might have done if Albert Camus had sublet his skull. Interesting. I definitely liked Simenon. So, crime fiction. Yeah. Yeah. Crime fiction in Amsterdam. That reminds at least somebody of Georges Simenon, French classic murder mystery author. History of a Pleasure Seeker by Richard Mason. I don't know anything about it, but it looked appealing enough to stick it in my sack. I like the face made up of all the bits. Yeah, we'll find out if it's any good. That one's one that I couldn't say why it was appealing. It just like, hi, I need to be in your sack. So it is. Joan Harris, Gentlemen and Players. Joan Harris wrote Chocolat and 5/4 of the Orange, which I have somewhere. But I've read Chocolat. It was good. So this is another one by her. And I do like that they've continued some of the art onto the back, so that we've got the side of this building. Boys' School. This will be a useful one for prompts, because there's always those prompts that are set in a school setting. This is set in St. Oswald's Grammar School for Boys. So I'll have to remember that when I need one. And here we've got some poetry that was bundled as a pack of poetry and did not sell and ended up in the bag of books. So I don't even know what's in this one yet. We'll find out. Cats do not need that. I know they think they do. Okay. Agua Santa, Holy Water, by Pat Mora. Red Canyon Falling on Churches. Great title. By Juliana Aragon Fatula. Crazy Chicana in Catholic City. Poems by Juliana Aragon Fatula. And a second copy of the same poetry collection with a different cover. So, I have a lot of poetry. Do I need a lot of poetry? Not really. I'm still debating, do I read poetry? I've got a lot of it, and they're short. This year, I do not need the numbers. This year, I'm doing fine for numbers. So if I wanted to read them, I might want to wait till January so that I can read them and let their numbers add to next year. I don't know. We'll see. I got T.C. Boyle, The Harder They Come. My siblings generally dislike T.C. Boyle, but I didn't mind them. There were some that I enjoyed. I always find his author images really amusing, being a tough image. I don't usually think of authors looking like that. I always forget that that's what he looks like in his pictures, but yeah. I wonder if he still looks like that, like how long ago that picture was taken. There are a couple authors that they're maybe not my type, but they look hotter than you would expect an author to look. He's one. Joe Nesbo looks rather dashing in his author pictures. I don't know if that's what he looks like in real life, but he looks good in his pictures. All right. We have Outer Bridge Reach by Robert Stone. Interesting picture. Towering story about a man pitting himself against the sea, against society, and against himself. Dun dun dun. We'll see if it's any good. Love Triangle, maybe, as well. We have Copperhead by Alexei Zentner. Useful because every once in a while you need an author starting with Z. And it's got a snake on the cover. So, animal on the cover. I've got a lot of things with animals on the cover, though. That by itself wouldn't sell me a book. The Spinoza Problem by Irvin D. Yalom. I'm guessing a Jewish author, but I don't do very well guessing. Yeah. So this is Jewish literature. Definitely. I think it is a novel, yes. Intriguing novel. I liked the stripy cover on this one. Alright, let me put these up and we'll get the next stack. As I said, this is the haul. So feel free to watch in bits and pieces if you would like. Speed it up. Watch for covers that look interesting. I'll be right back. Alright. I didn't actually get a lot of mass market paperbacks. I always expect to because they're small. But I just didn't end up picking out very many. So this stack is actually the only stack that is all mass market paperbacks out of all these little batches we're going through. I did get a lot, but relative to the amount of books I got, it's not that many. Alright. Situated. This is another author that's kind of Native American murder mysteries. This one is Cherokee. Witch of the Palo Duro by Marty Oakley Medawar. I got The Man from St. Petersburg by Ken Follett. I've not ever actually read a Ken Follett book. This one's shorter than his usual. And Russian novels are kind of my thing. One of my things. So I figured this might be a good place to start, even though it's not as well known as some of his others. Because some of his other books are quite a commitment. I'll try to remember if I got one of the others. I might already own Eye of the Needle. I don't remember if I have one and that's why I didn't get one in this round, or I don't know. Anyway, Here's some sci-fi, Tales of Riverworld by Philip Jose Farmer. I've read some of him a long time ago. I used to read a lot of the names from sci-fi when I was in middle school and high school and in my undergrad. So there's a lot of these that I may have even read those books, but it's been decades. So at this point, I'm reading them if I don't remember them. Dan Abnett, I believe, is one of the authors that was writing some of the Doctor Who books. I think that's why his name is familiar. But this is military sci-fi on a colony planet. The colony planet of 86. So hopefully they're going to find a more inspired name than 86 for their planet. But anyway, sci-fi. Here's another Gene Hager book with a cool cover. This was an Oklahoma mystery. So also Cherokee. But I like the cover on this one. It's a bit different. The Best of Our Spies by Alex Gerlis. Spy Masters Book 1. Spy thriller. In the Pas de Calais, Special Operations Executive Secret Agent Natalie Mercier disappears. Oh no. And her husband discovers the truth about her role in the Allies' deception at the heart of D-Day. Oh, exciting. Alright. I don't remember when or where I heard about it, but I know it was on BookTube. Drowning Ruth by Christina Schwartz. Don't know much about it. I remember people talking about it and that it sounded interesting, so I got one. Here's another Gene Hager. These are more the typical cover for her books. And this is the Spirit Caller. There's that one. Then same series, 7 Black Stones. And we have this one, the title. I was just curious. I kept seeing it when I was tidying up in the sale. So I had to get it because I kept looking at it. Death Comes for the Fat Man. We'll see if it's any good. But my rule of thumb is if I keep staring at a book for long enough, I'm curious enough to stick it in my sack. So I did find a Graham Greene book I have not read yet. So I was very excited about that. This is The Confidential Agent. I've read most of the well-known Graham Greene books. So at this point, it's a matter of finding the ones that are not as common. So I was very excited. There's Helm by Stephen Gould. This author is one that shows up on Sci-Fi Book Awards. So I got that one. I did not get the sequel to this one, and I was so bummed that I forgot to stick it in my sack. And then somebody else got it. I'll have to watch for it. This is No Fool Like an Old Fool by Robert Asprin with Peter J. Heck. No Fool Like an Old Fool. Desperate to kick Fool out of the Space Legion, General Blitzkrieg sends a crack team of environmental investigators, including celebrity canine Barky, the environmental dog, to sniff out Fool and his Omega Company's unnatural disasters. Oh my. There's dinosaurs in this one, too. Wow. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect on that one. I had to get it. The Madman of Benghazi by Gerard de Villiers. Malco Ling, an Austrian aristocrat, spends his time freelancing for the CIA in order to maintain his ancestral home and support his playboy lifestyle. When terrorists try to shoot down a plane carrying Libyan Prince Ibrahim al-Senussi, it is clear that someone wants him dead. But the CIA has its own plot for the prince. Oh my. So, interesting. And I don't think I have a copy of this one yet, but I could have one and just have forgotten. So, I may find out at some point that this is a duplicate. I don't know. I know I own some Ian Pierce books. I don't think I have an instance of The Finger Post yet. So, in any case, it was a nice copy. Not too terribly creased. So if I do have it, it may not be in as nice a condition. But I don't think I have one. I think I thought about it and then didn't get it. So hopefully this is not a duplicate. But that's all the mass markets I got. I was expecting to get a lot more. There may be one more that's in another stack, because I could have sworn I got a Dean Koontz in mass market. But the majority of them are in this stack, just because otherwise the stacks fall over. Yeah. So we'll see if there are any others, but I think that's the only one that might have ended up in a different part of the stacks. Yeah. And by the time I was putting together my second and third sacks, there was only one Dean Koontz left. So there weren't that many anyway. A lot of them were ones I'd already read or owned. So yeah, and I didn't get any new Grishams. Partly I forgot at this point which ones I even need. I have a lot of them. I've read a lot of them. I thought about getting J.A. Jance. I've never read Jance, and I don't know anything about their work. I had customers that were curious about Jance, but I met one that actually was looking for their books, but only one, and we had a lot of them by the end of the sale. So I might even end up adopting some if there's some in bad condition, just to try them out. I don't know. And there's other authors that I've thought about trying, and I just didn't stick them in my sack. I'm not even going to start Stuart Woods right now. There's so many of those. I could have, and I could have had lots if I'd wanted to. But I'd like to finish some other authors and clear some space, because that's one of those big series where you need to have enough shelf space if you're going to commit to reading that series. So, anyway, let's get back to the books. Let me bring in a new stack over, and we'll get on with more books. Okay, more books. Shouldn't have any poetry in this stack, but I did see a couple more stray poetry books. So we're not done with poetry yet. As I said, I got a few. Alright. Get ourselves situated. They're not falling over. Good. Where are you, poetry? No. Okay. The Confidant by Helena Grimillon. Helena Grimillon. I think I'll go with that. It is set in Paris, so French pronunciation probably all right. Yeah, she was born in France, worked in advertising and journalism before becoming a full-time writer. Lives in Paris with singer-songwriter Julien Clerc and their child. So, And she looks pretty cool too, actually. Alright. English Creek by Yvonne Doig. Several of the people I work with strongly recommend this author, so I had to get some. The Last Days of Dogtown by Anita Diamant. The Wonder by Emma Donahue. And that one isn't an early copy. It says coming in September 2016. So I think it's the finished edition, just an arc. But yeah, it looks like it's formatted. Sometimes when they're that size book, they're galleys. And I don't mind reading them, but I like it if they're formatted a little bit better. Good Harbor by Anita Diamant. The Living by Annie Dillard. Haven't read any of her for a while. Yeah. Blurbed by Thomas Keneally. Yeah. Fishnet by Paul A. Toth. Sounds awfully familiar, but I'm not sure why. Four Letters of Love by Neil Williams. Charlotte Gray by Sebastian Faulks. I may own this one. I know that I definitely did not own Birdsong, because that one's one that's on lists and I was looking for it. But I may own a copy of this one. I know I have a Sebastian Faulks I haven't read yet. But this one is in the same edition as Birdsong, which I finally got, which is also in this stack. So, pull that one next. So here's Birdsong. This one's on book lists, and I knew I needed to read it. So, yeah, now it matches the other one. Ann Tyler, The Tin Can Tree. We had a lot of Ann Tyler this time, so there will be more of her. Here's another Gutcherson, East of the Mountains. And Identity Theory by Peter Temple. This one has Struggling Intelligence Dealer, an expose journalist, and a secret terrible enough to destroy lives and topple governments. Oh my. You know, there are a lot of secrets that are supposed to be able to topple governments. And it's amazing how often the governments don't topple. So I wonder if it's overstated. Maybe. But I liked the title, so we'll see. And I do like espionage stories, so that could be fun. Let me put these away and grab another stack. Okay. I got an Updike, Memories of the Ford Administration. Because I don't know that much about President Ford. So, it's a nice edition. Most Updike tends to be older books, so I was curious. Here's some poetry. Door to the Forest, Poems by John Swan. And this one also continues the art to the back. Actually, this art reminds me of stuff that one of my friends does. So, that's kind of nice. Got an Ann Tyler, Earthly Possessions. There's some classic poetry. This one I might keep. This is The Wasteland, Proofrock, and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot. And I do like Proofrock. So, there aren't that many poems that I actually like. But The Love Song of J. Alfred Proofrock. One of those that I've come to like it. Maybe because it was read by a certain sexy British actor. And I liked the poem the way he read it. So. Okay. In One Door and Out the Other. A book of poetry about life in a retirement residence, its people, and the view looking back by Anne Allison Leach. This one is for my sibling because they did a stint working in such a residence. So that might be of interest. This one is a autobiography about a poet. Maya Angelou, The Heart of a Woman. So I will probably read this and then give it to my sibling. But this is the 4th volume of her highly acclaimed autobiography. So I'm debating whether I need the first 3 volumes or not. I may start the first chapter and see if she's written it where you can pick this up by itself, or whether I need to read the first 3 volumes of her life first. All right. As a River by Sean Dyson, full of verve, bravery, and poetry. An incandescent novel. Oh my. But it's not very big, but it is fiction. This next one is poetry, though. And I think that other one was misfiled in poetry. Guillotine, Poems by Eduardo C. Corral. I don't remember why I saw this book and was thinking about it, but Anthem by Noah Hawley. Hawley. That's a hard name to say. Holly. Like holly, like berries? I don't know. Anyway, I know that book is one that I've seen around. And it is a New York Times best-selling author, so that may be part of it. I have a lot of Jane Hamilton books, but I did not own The Excellent Lombards, so I got a copy of that. I like her books so far, but I haven't read all of them. I've liked the ones I've read, and I have a lot more. So, this one is Friday's Harbor by Diana Hammond with a pretty big fish on it. This is set in a zoo. There was a prompt this year in somebody's readathon for a book set in a zoo. This would have been really useful. Okay. This next one, I was just curious about it because of the title. Henry James's Midnight Song by Carol DeShellis Hill. I just kept staring at it. As I said, if I keep staring at a book long enough, it goes in the sack. This one's one that may be a buddy read because I got a copy of this one, and then there was a second copy that Coda put in his sack. So we both have copies. I have not read any Arturo Perez Reverte yet, but I own quite a few now. So this is one author I will be getting into, along with Benjamin O'Leary's Sons, that I got a lot of last Bag of Books sale. So that should be fun. it is an international bestseller, so that's promising. And it's a novel of suspense. So I'm sure that this is in my genres. We'll just see what Coda thinks. Someone has hacked into the Pope's personal computer, not to spy on the Vatican, but to send an urgent plea for help. Interesting. So, yeah, that should be fun. This one, the author won the Man Booker Prize. So this is The Green Road by Anne Enright. Yeah. Her 2007 novel, The Gathering, won the Man Booker Prize. And her 2011 novel, The Forgotten Waltz, won the Andrew Carnegie Medal for Excellence in Fiction. So this book was not a finalist on anything that I know of. But Anne Enright is respected as a good author. We'll see. This one's one I needed a copy of because I've been going through Le Carré. So, The Little Drummer Girl. I thought that maybe I would get one elsewhere. But I didn't get one before the sale, so I figured I might as well get this one. It's a bit big, and I'm not keeping it after I finish it. But that's true for a lot of these. So, I might finish this one this month because I am trying to finish Le Carré this year. So that's one ongoing project that if I come across the audiobook and I have checkouts left to use, I might get it. And then this one will be this month. Alright, I'm going to put these up and then grab the next stack. We're getting close to 2/3 done, probably about 2/3 done. And part of the stacks that are left is Robert Jordan books, which I'm definitely keeping, but I've already read before. So let me grab the next stack and we'll keep going with our books. Alright, this is going to be fast, but I had to show them off and get them out of the way so I can get to the other books. At the very first day of the sale, keep in mind I was working for the entire sale. I did 18 hours in 3 days, which is way more than I normally work at the bookstore. And I did all 3 days just being the constant, staff member in that section. So, yeah. So I got my first bag of books before we opened so that I didn't have to worry about shopping and running the sale at the same time. And that was good because these guys were there. So I now have more hardbacks of the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time series. And these are mostly ones that were co-authored with Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. Or Sanderson was working off of Jordan's notes to finish the series. So I've got books 10, 12, 13, 14, and 11. 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So that's really nice. I like the size of these guys. They're not quite as big as the earlier hardbacks that I've gotten. So I'm not that picky. I'm okay with them not matching. But if I got a duplicate, I don't think I did, but I'm not sure about book 10. I need to look and see what I already had. So if book 10 is a duplicate, I'm keeping the new one and letting the old one go. because it is nice that these guys are all the same size since they're sequential. But yeah, I was thrilled to get these ones in particular. And yeah, I will be watching for more. This is a series I reread enough. Paperbacks fall apart, and I'm not getting rid of them. So, yeah, it's nice to have nice copies of them. So I was very excited about that. Let me put these guys away, and we'll get on to the next stack. And we actually probably only have 2 stacks worth left. So we're almost done. Let me grab some more books. Alright. More books. Yeah, and it'll be just a stack and one more, and then we're done. And there will be more books that count for getting coins for finishing them that are not with me as well, because my sister had me help pick her books out as well. And the way we play our books is that when I finish books, they go to her. When she finishes books, they go to me. And they don't go away until both of us are done with the book. So, there are books that we got that are not here. They're with her, and they'll come to me when she's done with them. And I think that's where my Kuntz book went. I think that's why it's not in my stacks. Because she had custody of my books for about 3 or 4 days after the sale. So, yeah, I suspect it's probably there. Because I also have a John Kelman Stephenson book. I read one of his books, I think as an ARC. And I really liked his writing, so I found another one. And then there was a novel by Andre McKean that I don't have yet. Well, I do now, but it's at her house. So anyway, let's get on with these guys so we can finish up this haul. And I will chat more books tomorrow night after this is over. Talking about October. That's the plan. All right. Here is Your Blue-Eyed Boy by Helen Dunmore. I've heard of it. I don't know why. Literary crime thriller, maybe. Creepiness. We like creepiness. Okay. Under a War-Torn Sky by L.M. Eliot. The cover was intriguing. Historical fiction. Probably YA historical fiction. Maybe. Featuring a 19-year-old as the central character. Dreaming in Cuban, a novel by Cristina Garcia. The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I did read The Shadow of the Wind as a buddy read this year. Not a 5-star for me, but it was good. Cuyahoga by Pete Beattie. This is an ARC, but it's obviously formatted, not a galley. The Translation of the Bones by Francesca Kay. I was intrigued by the title. The 19th Wife by David Ebersoff. Yeah, and it is set in 1875 and deals with Brigham Young. So, historical fiction. Interesting. The Bourbaki Gambit by Carl Gerasi. Where is he from? Does it say? No, we'll have to look at that one later. The Unusual Life of Tristan Smith by Peter Carey. The author is a winner of the Booker Prize, but not for this book. Right. I should remember what he won for, but not right now. Dancing at the Rascal Fair by Yvonne Doig. This is the one that most people know him for, apparently, and certainly the one that I've heard of the most. From its opening on the quay of a Scottish port in 1889 to its close in the windswept Montana homestead 3 decades later. This book is a passionate and authentic chronicle of the American experience. We have Vinegar Hill by A. Manette Ansay, which I've heard of. I don't remember if I own a copy of this one. I don't think I do, but if so, it's not as nice. This one's probably a present. Because I thought about it at the time, like, I might own one. This one's not perfect. It's got some damage on the corner, but it's not creased at all. There's no way that somebody actually read this properly, because it doesn't have the kind of damage you'd get from opening it. But I've read this one for sure. It may have been a library book, though. This is a short story collection put together by John Joseph Adams. I love his collections. They're thematic, so this one is climate fiction. The first one I read by him was called By Blood We Live, and it was all vampire stories from all sorts of different authors, and he gets people to send him stories specifically written for him for these collections. So, if you're looking for that kind of short story anthology collection, John Joseph Adams is a name to look for. So, if I don't have it, I may reread it before it goes away. The Last Chinese Chef by Nicole Moniz. Or Moons. And, let's see, 2 more in this stack. The Last Known Residency of Mickey Acuna by Dagoberto Gilb. A 1994 New York Times Book Review Notable Book of the Year. So that's interesting. Yes. And it's a funky format, so I'm curious about why it is a funky format. Grove Press Books. Published by Publishers Group West. I have no idea. But it's a weird format. It strikes me as small pub indie. Yeah. So, I don't know anything about that publisher, but it's interesting. And the cover art is definitely different. And then another Ann Tyler, Back When We Were Grown-Ups, which I love the title. It was probably the first one I stuck in my sack. And then I'll move these over and grab the last stack, and then we're done with our haul. Until I get more, because we're still tidying up after the sale. There may be ones I adopt from what we aren't keeping after the sale. So, we'll see. That'll be a separate video. Let me grab the last stack for this haul. Alright, last stack for this book haul. Yes. I have Nowhere Else on Earth by Josephine Humphreys. It looks literary. Might as well. The Lumbee Indian Settlement of Robeson County, North Carolina. I've read another book that was set around that tribal system. I think it was a murder mystery, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Cuba and the Night by Pico Iyer. And this one is set in Castro's Cuba. And partying and that kind of stuff. I don't know. The cover certainly would suggest kind of a restaurant or party sort of scene, but we'll find out. 1939, The Lost World of the Fair by David Gelernschner. And is this a novel? Part fiction, part history, part sociology, part prophecy. Basically a novel, but with other stuff mixed in. And it's also marked as history. So this one's kind of all over the place. We'll find out when we read it. But the Art Deco sort of inspired cover is cool. Yeah, like Art Deco-ish. Alright, you sit right there. This next one I might own a different edition of, but I wasn't sure, so I just threw it in the sack anyway. This is An Equal Music by Vikram Seth, which I know is on book lists and I need it. Vikram Seth wrote A Suitable Boy, which is gigantic, but really good. Like 5-star, really good. But it's going to take you a while to finish it. This one is much smaller. The Steady Running of the Hour by Justin Go. An author I've heard of, but I don't know why. It's a love story. Not usually my kind of story, but it might be good. History, a novel by Elsa Morante. It is actually called History. We'll see what it's about. And it was written nearly 3 decades after Elsa Morante spent a year hiding from the Germans in remote farming villages in the mountains south of Rome. Interesting. So probably World War narration of some sort. My Dream of You by Nuala Afaulen. Interesting. 40 Days Without Shadow by Olivier Truc. This is an Arctic thriller, winner of 20 International Book Awards. Oh my. So probably a good book. Yep. Shortlisted for the CWA International Dagger Award. So probably a good thriller. The Slap by Christos Tsiolkas. Oh my goodness. Christos Tsiolkas. There we go. And this one, now a NBC event series. Not that I watch any TV, so I would not know it from that. But that one looks interesting. And it's a Penguin book. There's somebody on BookTube that's reading all of those, like in order or something like that. I found the idea inspiring, but getting them all at once, I would need to not be someone that has to move frequently, and I'm not that sort of person yet. If I ever get to where I'm stable, like staying somewhere permanently, then I could see collecting all the penguins or something like that and reading them all. Right now it doesn't make sense because for all that I acquired a lot of books, I'm always keeping in mind that I may have to move. And I know that I will probably have to move in the next 2 years, somewhere, somehow. Yeah, so if I don't care to move it with me, it's not something I'm getting right now. Anyway, another Ann Tyler, Patchwork Planet. The Weight of Heaven by Thriti Omrigar. Right there. The Queen of the Tambourine by Jane Gardam. This is an edition, the Europa editions, that I own quite a few other books in. So this one I got it because the publisher and the edition suggest I might be interested. We'll see if that actually plays out. But kind of like getting all the penguins, you know. That one's one where I know that I have other ones. Another Ian Pierce, the Titian Committee. Titian being an artist. And art. And last but not least, the Flanders Panel by Arturo Perez Reverte. So that's it. That's all I got for my $20. Yeah. And there are more that are still with my sibling. And you'll meet them as I read them. And I definitely might have more books coming. I have a small stack next to me that's kind of the beginning of that. But they're not part of the bag of books exactly. They're actually from books that we couldn't process into the store because they're in bad condition. And they are in bad condition. I'll pull one just so you can get an idea of. Like, they're not happy books. They're warped. And this one is the Hot Blood series, Stranger by Night. This is an anthology of original erotic horror, edited by Jeff Gelb and Michael Garrett. I've heard of Michael Garrett. I must have something with him on it. Anyway, here's the chick. And got cyber sex and tiny creatures and all sorts of random stuff. Necrophilia. Anyway. Yeah, so erotic horror. Interesting. Not really my genre, but it's in rough enough shape we're not selling it. So I adopted it. And that's really kind of the theme of the stock next to me. That'll be part of the next video of Book Haulness. That may be next week because I want to make sure that I've got all of the books that I'm going to be getting in this round here before I make the video, just so I can do it all at once. Yeah, so expect another haul video for those because I work at the store where the bag of books happens. There is a good chance that there are going to be books that I will adopt that we just don't want to keep around in the store post-sale. Because these are already books that have been in the store probably for the most part for about 2 years before they get sold in bag of books. with some exceptions. And by the time they've gone through the bag of books process, people could have put them in a sack and it wouldn't have cost them any more. They probably would have fit. If they're still there after the sale, there's a good chance people don't want them. And if they're still there after the days after the sale, where we let nonprofits and people with little free libraries and other people like that show up and take free books, if after that the books are still on the shelf, we need to make some decisions about which ones we're going to keep around for the next sale, because we do this every 6 months and we have plenty of books every time. So obviously we can't keep them all. And so we send them off to various places and we can adopt them at that point if we're not going to keep them. And yeah. So a long story short, there will probably be more books, but I don't know how many yet. And I am still keeping in mind that I will probably have to move in the next 2 years. No idea when. I've started taking some steps back from being the lead admin for Dewey's because I don't know when I won't be able to do that. So I want to make sure that we're already set for someone else being in charge. So anyway, yeah, but more on that later. I'm going to wrap this up so that we can upload and people can see my pretty books. And I will see you in the next video, probably my wrap up for the first week of October, which I will hopefully do tomorrow. Relative to now, not relative to when you see this video, of course. Let me know if any of these books look exciting or if you've read them and anything else. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys!